Hi, everyone. I still see a few people signing in, so we'll just wait a couple more minutes and we'll begin the webinar. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jeremy Balmong, outside sales with BayWa RE Canada. And continuing education is an important part of BayWa's culture, so we really appreciate you attending and taking time out of your busy day to join us and Roof Tech. Just a reminder that this will be recorded. You'll be able to see it on our YouTube channel, and it will also be released during our next monthly newsletter. Please sign up for our YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can find all of our previous webinars there. If you have any questions during the webinar, be sure to type them into the chat box in the bottom right corner of the portal. We will answer questions as we go, and we might have some time at the end of the webinar as well. As mentioned, continuing education is an important part of the culture here at BayWa, so we are happy to be able to extend this to our customers. And Roof Tech is such a great partner with BayWa. Their product is rock solid, and it happens to be one of the fastest installs out in the market. So without further ado, I'll pass things on to Guy Wellmann from Roof Tech. Thanks for spending time with us, Guy.
Thank you, Jeremy. Everybody can hear me, I hope.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, and I'll show my screen just for a sec. But yeah, I'm going to go through this presentation. Let me know when somebody, texts a question or anything like that. I'll be happy to answer as we're going. But what screen are you guys seeing? Is this?
We are seeing the red Roof Tech screen. Yeah, you just kind of scan through it there. And then you're up top there. Sorry, Guy, I think you might be muted right now.
There we go. Sorry, still just clicking buttons around.
No worries, good now.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so to start off, just want to tell you a little history of Roof Tech. Not sure if anybody knows this or maybe if they've seen the presentation. Not a lot has changed, but a lot of people don't know that we started off, we are a Japanese company, started off in 1968. We started off as roofers, and from there we turned into roofing manufacturers and really manufacturing anything to deal with roofing. From there, in the early 90s, started doing solar, and at the time, that's why I keep hitting the button. There we go. When we turned into a solar company in the early 90s, at that time in Japan was striving or pushing towards that millionth install mark, which we helped them obtain. This is something that, if you guys are aware of, in California, it happened a little over 5-6 years ago, just to show you how long that process takes of just installing, you know, 1 million installs. But when we did help them obtain this, this is at the time when Japan, we had about 70% of the market share there. You know, if you guys were doing solar in Japan at that time, more times than not, it was using our products. We are located in or based in the US. Our parent company, Yanagika in Japan, our company, Rooftech in the US in San Diego. We have warehouses in San Diego. We have warehouses in New Jersey. And that's how we're able to get you guys, you know, really all your product as quickly as possible. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but at a lot of these shows, I am the guy wearing the red suit and the big red hat. That's my other guy, Ken, out of Texas. We try to stick out just a little bit, leave our mark behind. Some people call it peacocking, but it's just to kind of make us stand out a little bit than the others. But we are the pioneers of this flexible flashing. You know, a lot of people, I still get answers or questions all the time saying, you know, you can't put this on roofs. This is a flashless product. It is not flashless. This is just a flexible flashing. And if you see with other products in the US and even in Canada, a lot of these guys are moving towards this flashless, you know, a butyl backed. Some are putting EPDM. It's just people getting away from the traditional flashing of prying up shingles and doing a top-down installation. We also have about 40 million, we have over 40 million installs worldwide. And this is counting all, like basically all of our penetrations, but with 0 leaks outside of human air. And the human air can be as easy as somebody putting down a base and then realizing it needs to be moved and actually not flashing those holes that they just created, something that easy. I'll be hitting on a lot of this throughout this presentation with the testing, the amount of testing that we do. I think because we are a Japanese company, we like to fail on the side of precaution. You know, before we even send out anything to SML or a UL or ICC, the International Code Council, things are done in our own facilities. We have in-house facilities in Japan. We also have outside facilities. So before we even, you know, start having third-party testing, we already know what the outcomes are going to be. Here are some of the testing or some of the facilities inside, you know, load testing or hurricane simulations, outdoor weather, you know, from hot to cold, back and forth, salt spray, sea salt spray. But that is also our outdoor facilities as well. Like on the left there, that is the mountains of Japan. That's about 4 or 5 feet of snow. The same array in the middle. And on the right there, that is on the coast. So again, it's real life temperatures, it's real life sea salt spray, it's real life snow, wind, cold, hot, not just the simulated versions. I showed this test. This is some of the load testing that we have done, but this is where we identified that with our Mini, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of our products or who uses our products, but basically all of our bases from our railless to our Mini and even our new RE Plus or RT Plus, it's set out basically the same. They have offset hole patterns. The holes are not going to be directly across from each other. And a lot of products out there now, we were the first to start doing this because we were the first to identify that when you're installing this and using a top-down solution with screws and a combination of butyl, that there is a possibility that you could be putting a base down right where the OSB meets, the plywood meets. This is a butt joint. So there is a possibility that one of those screws with our base could be in between those butt joints and really rendering it useless. It does not have any value. So just because we say, you know, hey, we have a 5-screw pattern, like if you're going for a decking solution, you know, if you're going for a rafter, it doesn't really matter if you hit that butt joint because you're going to be hitting that rafter. But in any case, when you are doing a decking solution, you know, there is a possibility of rendering that useless. So it's really 4 screws is what's required, but we think there is that possibility that one could be in those joints. So that's why we do have 5 screws. More on the testing. This is a water test. So again, we're going above and beyond what these different facilities are asking for in testing. This is a fully submerged test. So when I say, we're a waterproof solution, we are a watertight solution with our combination of screw. It's a double helix. It's designed to actually pull this butyl into the void and sealing it up at point of contact. Again, you'll hear me go back and forth between butyl or AlphaSeal technology. The AlphaSeal technology is what we call the butyl, because not all butyl is the same. You could go to a Home Depot or a Menards or any kind of Ace Hardware and buy a roll of butyl. And I'm not saying that slapping that on the back would help, but it's definitely going to be different. This is our proprietary butyl, and that's where it's sealing up. More on these testing. So at the time right now, we are still continuing testing even our current products. Right now I am trying to work on our guys being able to install these products while it's wet or dewy outside. That trapping any kind of moisture in between the butyl and the shingle really is not going to matter. And we've kind of identified this because we've done these tests where we install it into like a bucket of water. So it's completely submerged. When we put the screws in, we back them out. You can see the drip. You back it out halfway. It's sealed up. It's just, again, going above and beyond for this watertight seal. When most of the products out there are a water diversion, it's pushing the water away from the holes that you are creating instead of making it a watertight seal. Our PE stamp letters, these are all available on our webpage. We have US, we have Canada, and you can see that some of the areas are not colored. It's really where we're going where the work is. So if you guys ever identify an area where we don't have a PE stamp letter, please let me know. They're easy to obtain. They're just expensive. And really, we're just going where the work is. If there's not going to be a lot of work there, people can do a one-off and we can point them in the right direction. But for areas that do have a lot of consistent work, that's what we're hitting up. And you can get these on our webpage. You can email me anytime. I can send them to you directly. These are just going to basically state, your spans and max spans for your minis or our railless. Having a tough time navigating this little scroll here. So again, still, there we go. So these are our screws on the left. We got away from a traditional lag bolt. This is something that was done by the National Design and Specification. This is basically stating that whatever you're putting into a rafter, because I still say that we need to hit quite a few rafters with our attachments. We're just also a decking solution. So decking solution, or being all decking, is not going to really work in Canada with the snow loads and the weather conditions. But down in, Arizona and areas where, obviously no snow, you can get away with more of a all decking solution. But this company is stating that, 1.5 times the diameter of whatever you're putting into the rafter. You can see the red in the areas. You put that on either side, and that screw or lag bolt cannot get into that red. If it does, you're risking blowing out a rafter or also rendering it useless, or, it's really not going to have the value that you think it does. So it's just showing you that we're making it a lot easier for you to hit that rafter and know that the strength that we're telling you you're going to obtain by hitting a rafter, you're actually going to achieve, because it's smaller. And I always say too that I like standing on 2 feet, not just one. So these are some of the examples of things that would happen. This on the left here, this is a, you've completely missed the rafter, but to an untrained, feel, or an untrained guy on the roof, this is going to feel like you hit the rafter dead on. The one up in the middle there, that is a blown out rafter, and the one down on the bottom is just improperly pre-drilling for that lag bolt and snapping those off. Now, a lot, this is happening in the US a little bit more than in Canada right now, but you're having a lot of systems coming up on that 25 to 30 years of being installed, and either, need a new roof or selling houses. When they do inspections and they see this kind of thing, this might have passed when they installed the system. It's not going to pass now, and there's a lot of fixes. There's a lot of people going out there. I mean, in the US especially, there's a lot of companies that switched from doing brand new installs to doing a remove and reinstall and fix issues like this, just because of new roofs needed or selling of the house. Again, you think that just because we're putting probably more holes on the roof than what people are typically used to with that one lag bolt solution, it's still just, it's less damaging to the rafters altogether. It's less damaging to the roof as well.
Thanks, Guy. Just a quick question too.
Yeah.
We should only be using Roof Tech screws with Roof Tech minis, right? I'm assuming a warranty might be void if we're using a different screw for extras.
Correct. So
Okay.
what we have is our typical screw that comes with all of our products is a 60 millimeter screw. We also offer a 90 millimeter screw too, just slightly larger, a little bit longer. And that's, I mean, I've been on roofs, especially in Canada, where it seems like the shingles are a little fluffy in areas. They're not necessarily old, but it's just, they're thicker. And when you're trying to hit that rafter, the 90 mil will help out quite a bit. And yes, using outside screws definitely voids the warranty.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is our RT Apex. This is our railless system. I don't know if you guys have come across railless before, used railless before, but that's how we started off. Our solar installs all were railless. Our products were railless at the very beginning. And then we saw people grabbing our bases and attaching L feet to it and making the rail. So that's how we ended up developing the Mini. But we started off as a railless company, and this is our third generation railless. So this video here, it is showing you the layout guide and how to snap lines and the measurement of our railless system. We're not going to watch the whole thing. I just like to show you guys that we do have a lot of continuing education on our webpage. Whether it's with our railless or our Mini or new products or conduit mounts, whatever it is, we make it a lot easier than trying to just grab an installation guide and going through that, because as many of you know, most of these installation guides for any racking out there, somewhat resembles stereo equipment. They're very hard to understand or wired up to, trying to measure out certain lines. But we do it visually just so you have it there. But you also can call me at any time. There we go. It's like a lag on changing videos. With our system though too, the railless system is one of the things that we offer up through BayWa, a buy one get one free program. So it's a buy a system and get a system, and if you do this back to back, we can typically be there for training on both of those occasions. So we do training for free as well on this. And the reason why we do this is because it is a lot different than what people are used to with a railed system. And I'm not saying that a railed system is going to fit for everybody or everybody's always going to just switch over. There's a lot of reasons to switch over to that. But to know the system, it's a lot easier to have us come there and teach you how to use it than to try to figure it out on your own. So this is the wire management side of this process. It is different. Everybody else is used to throwing up your bases, throwing up your rail, and then you do all the wiring and all the wire management to those rails before you even start putting down glass. So with this system, there is no rail. So everything essentially is going on the back of the module, which is a lot different than what people are used to, not to mention a lot safer because you're doing more of this work on the ground than you were doing before. So your inverters are going on the back of the panels, and then all the wiring is going to be done through the edge of the panels, which, S5 has a good MLPE bracket to attach the inverters, and Easy Solar actually is coming out with more products, it seems like every day, for wire management for the rail side and for the railless side. The leveling here, you know, it's right on top. We make it a lot easier than any other railless on the market. You know, most railless, you would have to take apart that clamp almost altogether to get the leveling down. It's something that you're loosening up the attachment to the panel itself, and then putting it back down and hoping that you got it right. I mean, even some of our first generation railless was working with shims to do the leveling. But what I tell people, even if they're going to use this as a one-off, you know, they get to a site, didn't see a stink pipe, didn't see something that's in their way, maybe it doesn't quite fit the way they thought it would, and now they have to stick 1 or 2 panels outside of that array in some area. Throwing up a couple clamps is going to be a lot easier than cutting little pieces of rail and then having ultimately some wasted rail just for those cuts. But then you can do the leveling here to match up perfectly with your existing array. So it makes it look just like it's all one array. This slide here, over here where you can see the modules in blue or outlined in blue, really the only reason I'm showing you this is because the lower side of the roof here is a flat rolled asphalt. The one above it is a pitched shingled roof, and then you have an offset array. It's just the railless altogether is a much more versatile product. I mean, it can do a lot. From, you know, I tell people if you want to write your name on a roof, you're going to have an easier time with a railless system than you are with a railed system, obviously. But it's sometimes, you know, some of these roofs, they'll have one big array on the biggest part of their roof, and then they're filling up a lot of the blank area with, you know, creative designs, whether it looks like a lightning bolt coming down, upside down triangle. It's just, it's a lot easier with the railless system. Our Apex estimator, which is online, this is something that we try to do to make it a lot easier for you guys to come to like BayWa and say, hey, this is what we need. So we do it, it's very easy, a lot of drop downs, a lot of drag and drop. This is stuff that we can do with you guys. We can train you on this. You guys could give us, you know, your specs on this. We can do it for you, leading into you learning how to do it. But it's basically going to give you your BOM, your bill of material, and kind of give you engineering docs. But it's very easy to come out with your layouts. Blue lines are your rafters. It's something that I've seen a lot, and when we do our trainings, I bring like a laminated copy of this array or their array to show the installers. You know, sometimes the installers themselves, some of the lower guys on the totem pole, don't even really understand what they're building. You know, what's the design look like? There's one head guy who's chalking out lines and just telling people, hey, where the X meets, that's where you're putting bases. And when they get to the end, then they see, you know, the layout. It just makes it look a lot easier. It helps these guys, but then ultimately, this is something that you guys would be providing BayWa when saying, hey, these are the parts and pieces I need. It also states on it, you know, you're going to be putting in your criteria of that individual install, you know, your pitcher roof, your building material, and where it's located. This will also come up with your max span calculator. So this is stuff that you could keep. You can file this, that if there was ever something that somebody wanted to come back to you and say you didn't do it correctly, you can say, yes, I did, and here's the engineering docs to prove it. So with the system, a railless system or our railless system, we're able to, each clamp can handle a 30 to a 40 millimeter module. So right now it's not as big of a problem, but a handful of years ago when we had shipping problems and, you know, you would order a certain module and then all of a sudden those would disappear and you weren't able to get those and you had to, you know, just figure out and make do. This product is going to cover you on all the different thicknesses. So it just helps out quite a bit. The leveling is 1.25 inches. You're going up and down. Again, it'll help out with the wonky roofs that you come across, or I've even seen on a lot of roofs where you have an addition put on and there's a seam going right down the middle that makes it almost impossible to level it or make it look really nice and level from the ground. This is also going to help out with that. The bonding itself, by just installing the product all together, you're going to bond this a whole array together. So there is a skirt in the front. You can't really see it in this picture, but we do provide a skirt that I tell people is aesthetic. It looks nicer. You know, this a railless install with us is going to look a lot better than just a typical railed install. And one of the reasons is that skirt in the front, but the skirt also bonds all the different columns together. So like all of our products too, you have a 0 to a 45-degree pitch. And 0, I've learned not to say 0 anymore because there should not be a 0, but a positive drainage roof to a 45. We can go outside of the 45. It's just that we didn't engineer it for that. So it just takes site-specific engineering. I mean, in the last 5 years, I've seen maybe 2 to 3, church pitches where it's almost straight up and down vertical, and we were able to install on it, but it just needed site-specific engineering to come and sign off on it. So some of the things with the railless that we're offering you up is that BOM training, just showing you how or what you're going to need, all the parts and pieces. Again, this is something that we can handle for you going into it. But then number one is the buy one, get one. Buy a system, get a system. And, I always try to tell people, especially when I say that, they want to take advantage kind of, or say, oh, I've got this crazy amount of modules that we're putting down. I'll take that one for free. Obviously, we're going to, the less expensive one's going to be the free one. I always say too, try to make it simple. Just make it, I'm just coming out there to teach you how to use this system. Sometimes people want to get creative, and really the most difficult install is the one that they want to try a new system on. And I'm going to tell you now, your installers are not going to thank you for it. So, but it is something that we provide that nobody else does. So if you guys ever want to try something like this, let BayWa know, let me know. We would be happy to come up and do the trainings with you guys. Again, to temperature or weather wise, it's not that it's not a cold weather install, because it is. It's just nobody wants to learn a new system when it's freezing outside. They want to get in and off the roof as fast as possible. So like I said, the Mini really came from us starting off as a railless company, and then hearing that people are putting L-feet onto those bases just so they can install a railed system. So we developed the Mini. I don't know if everybody here is using the Mini or has never heard of the Mini, but this has been the most popular product. This product is just, it's designed to, we're just the base. We are the base, and it's going to be anybody's L-foot, anybody's rail. So it just makes it a lot easier. So everything that you guys are currently using with your railed system is going to stay the same. All the clamps, all the clips, all the parts and pieces, it's just going to be our bases, our screws, and then our nut and bolt to attach the L-foot. But outside of that, it's going to be somebody else's product.
Guy, just a really quick question for you.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking about the railless system, and have you ever had any applications where they've done railless on a vertical wall? The person's just curious about it, or with the Roof Tech Mini. I'm assuming it would be site-specific engineering required for it, but could it be installed on the wall, the railless or the Roof Tech Mini?
Yeah, again, it's just going to take that site-specific engineering. I actually had a call about this maybe a month ago, a couple weeks ago, a few weeks back, when somebody asked that, and it's yes, you just need to have that engineer come out. They basically look at our engineering, and then it usually takes a couple conversations, or at least one conversation, with the engineering company and my engineer, Milton, to get somebody to sign off on this. Because then it's going to be site-specific spacing. So I would say it would be easier with a railed system than it would be with a railless system. the more vertical you get.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is basically showing, so there's not two rafters here. This is showing that, you know, all of our products were a rafter attachment. We're also a decking attachment. We're also a hybrid where you can go deck rafter. But what we do with our products is, you know, with the Mini itself, you have about 3 inches to hit this rafter. So you put in this top screw, the first screw here, and if it does not bite and you have missed the rafter, whether it's from mismeasuring, maybe the rafter's off. I've been on sites in Canada where it's gone 16, 22, it's all over the place, or hey, this rafter seems like it's about 8 inches wide and it ends up being an attached addition, and that was an exterior wall, and it just confuses people. But we're making it very easy for you to hit this rafter. So if you're out there, you hammer out your rafters, you chalk them out, and then you're pretty close, you hit that first screw and it misses. What I tell people, you don't move it. You just put the other screws in to make it a decking attachment. And what you're going to do is probably hit those rafters on one of the sides, which is our offset rafter attachment. So we do tell you, you know, it's about 3 inches to hit a rafter, and with a hammer, you should not have a problem hitting these rafters. Now, if there's some sort of building mishap where, I mean, I've seen that too, where it's like, oh, wow, it's almost like they missed a rafter altogether installing it. You don't have to move it. You can check your spans again, but just make sure you hit your next rafter. So it's not the end of the world if you miss a rafter, but more times than not, if you do miss it with that first screw, you're going to hit it with the additional screws, so it will be an offset rafter attachment. One of the biggest features with our Mini is the adjustability of the L-foot itself. This is something I've been preaching since the beginning. Now, I tell this to some guys and they say, hey, I'm perfect. I don't need this adjustment. I never have a problem. Well, this is for the guys that sometimes either have damaged rail or the bases are just slightly put down in the wrong area. You know, I tell people, you know, sometimes they'll have a bunch of guys installing bases. I tell them, hey, why don't you have each guy do a different row? That way, at least they know where they're offsetting it, you know, where they're putting it. How far away were they from that other shingle course? You know, just so they can all do it at the same area. That way, you know, if you had a fixed L-foot, sometimes you come to the job, you have a bent rail, or they didn't mismeasure the feet, and you are squeezing or bending that rail to try to meet that L-foot, which what it does is really puts undue stress on the roof itself. It binds the roof up. And I tell people, if it's too bad, you know, in the course of just 1 year of going through weather of hot, cold, wind, rain, snow, you're definitely more likely to have a lot of loose nuts and bolts just because it'll shake it loose. But with this product, being able to meet, you know, slide that L-foot to meet that rail, it just, again, is less damaging to the roof, and you eliminate that any kind of binding issue. So again, some of the things with the Mini that I haven't said, but you know, it got rid of all the pre-drilling. There's no pre-drilling, there's no pre-caulking, and there's no post-caulking. Now back to the testing that we're continuing doing. For the longest time, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I guess, we required on our Mini 3 sides of sealant on top and both sides. And about 5 years ago, we got rid of that. We didn't need it anymore. You know, again, that's the Japanese failing on cautiousness. They just want to make sure. You know, we do have it in our install guide now, but it's there for added UV protectant. But you'll see in slides coming up here that even systems I'm pulling off that are 20, 25 years, you know, the caulk that was there is cracked up and broken, but the butyl or our AlphaSeal is still gummy, it's still malleable, it's still doing what it's supposed to do. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to get rid, and we're trying to make this job as fast as possible. You know, I like to say I'm taking the guy that's pushing a broom or carrying boxes, and now you can have him install bases with, you know, little thought to thinking he's going to mess this roof up. You know, So it's going to have a 25-year warranty like all of our products do. It's one of those products that are versatile, that can go down to that almost zero pitch, positive drainage to a 45. So it's that low slow roof all the way up to the pitched roof. Another one of our products, so you can kind of see in the middle picture here, the Mini. We have self-tapper grooves on the Mini. So a lot of people were attaching either junction boxes to it. They were attaching really anything to this product. But what a lot of people were using it for was a conduit mount. And it's a very expensive conduit mount. And it's engineered to hold up the whole array, and it does not need to be that strong when it's just conduit, and it's more expensive. So this conduit mount is something that just came out, and I believe BayWa has it. Jeremy can answer to that. But it's just been a great product for us. I know that up in Canada, a lot of guys, or in different provinces, can get away with installing old hockey pucks. But again, you're relying solely on sealant, where you just can't, with this product, it's sealing up at point of contact like the rest of our products. It has that 25-year warranty. It's just an easier product to use, and again, not relying on any kind of sealant.
And Guy, yeah, we do carry the conduit mount too. If anybody's looking for some samples, just hit up your outside rep and we can show it to you. But the people who've been using it have been loving it.
Yeah. It's just it's an easy product to use. Comes in boxes of 20. It does come with the screw already, so you're not buying that additionally. It only takes the one screw, so it definitely has been something that has a lot of people have been liking. So this is a newer product. It's not up in Canada right now. This is our RT Plus. This is something that we brought to market here in the last year, basically in the United States. A lot of people have been slapping butyl on the back of their products, saying, hey, this is just like the Mini. It's still not. They're still having issues, but a lot of fixed L feet, a lot of fixed attachments, where this is getting away from what I have been preaching for years of needing that adjustability. But it's just like the rest of the products, where it's a 2 screws for a rafter install, 5 screws for a decking. But what this has done is it's actually engineered to attach to the rail first. So it's eliminating the need to have that adjustability. So no, it doesn't have the adjustability that I always talk about, but by attaching it to the rail first and taking up to the roof that way, you still can slide it east and west, but there is no need to be bending rail, or even on a completely bent rail. Wherever these bases lie, that's where you're going to install them. So you can see we've still got a offset rafter attachment. We have a rafter and a decking. So just like all of our products. So think of it, every one of our bases had the similar design. They have an offset pattern. It's 2 down the middle for a rafter. That's it. So if you're hitting a rafter, you only need 2. That's with the Mini, that's with our Apex base, and that's with the RT Plus. And then 5 screws for a decking. Now on this one, because it is a little smaller, the offset rafter attachment, we do ask for 6 screws. You're going to fill all of it. It's just going to give it more strength when it's going to lean side to side. So our AlphaSeal, this is the butyl. I mean, it's nearly impossible for me to call it AlphaSeal at all the times. I mean, I start saying AlphaSeal, people are saying what? This is the butyl. Now, this has been the same for the 30 plus years that we have been creating products for solar. It's been the same screw configuration. It's been the same butyl or AlphaSeal backing. And this is the black magic. This is what makes us so much different than anybody else. This is what has kept us 0 leaks in 30 plus years and 40 plus million penetrations worldwide, is the butyl. This is something that is ours. This is our proprietary butyl, and that's going to make us different. People can slap on butyl. People have horror stories back in the day of people putting butyl on the back of L feet, pre-drilling, and putting that right to the roof, and then just caulking caulking it up. It's just once that caulk falls apart, the butyl ends up getting hit, and then it falls apart completely. This is just going to be different, and this is, again, what makes us a watertight seal, not a water diversion. So you can see here the temperatures. A lot of people ask about this, so think of it as like your caulk or your sealant, what you guys used back in the day. You didn't keep it in the snow. You kept it warm when it was cold outside. You need to treat the bases the same way. Now, they don't have to be hot, just need to be warm. And what I tell people is that a lot of installs, you get to that are cold weather, the heat from the house is going to keep the roof relatively warm. It's not going to get too cold on the roof at all. But the product itself, if you take a heat gun up there, I said one of the best tests to do. Now you can see the application temp there at -5. You can go colder than that, and what you need to do is have a heat gun and heat the back of the product up, heat a little bit of the roof, and if you put it down, it just needs to stick. If it didn't stick, it needs to be heated up a little bit more. So if a little heat gun with you is going to help you. So it just needs to be pliable when you put these screws down, and then it can instantly go back to freezing. So I do have some guys that will go around, especially when colder temps start hitting, and install a lot of feet throughout their customers. That way they can keep their customers, and they can do the rest of the install throughout the cold weather, and it doesn't matter because the bases are already down.
Hey, Guy, just another question here for you. I think it was pertinent to the foot you were just talking about. Just got somebody asking, does the rail interfere with the screw for attaching there, or is there clearance there with like a deep socket or something like that?
There is clearance. So it was designed that way to not be in the way. But yeah, good question. I mean, that is one of the biggest things that we get back on that. And so that was one of the tests, was to make sure that it's wide enough to get past that rail, or like the screw patterns are past the rail. So you are good.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So this is a butyl buildup. This is when you would be putting down a base on, half off of the shingle course. If you guys are used to using a mini, this is something that you probably don't run across very often, if ever, because you do get to pick your shingle course. The rail is just going to go right down the shingle course. You can just, you can cheat either way you want. So it doesn't come up that often, but with our railless product, it comes up quite a bit. The Evro is going to be nice and easy. It's going to be right on a normal shingle course. You're not going to have to do any kind of butyl buildup, but then you're dictated on the width or the length of the module. And so you will run into this quite a bit more. And what this is doing is basically leveling out the bases. And that's why our product does come with extra butyl, but like in the minis, it's coming with 4 pieces because nobody's really using it. I've got guys that say, what do I do with this leftover butyl? Really, I would always leave it behind for the homeowner. Explain that this is what's actually on the back of your product, and put it in their garage. They can seal window sills up with it, or there's a lot of things that the homeowner, that way the installer doesn't get boxes and boxes of butyl. At one time we were doing actually a buyback program, but on the railless side, because the modules are different lengths, different widths, and as you go up this roof or as you're stacking it, you will run into more and more of these the buildups or leveling for the base. Now here, again, back to some of this testing. This is just a simulated test, simulating years of testing, and you can see how the caulk or the sealant is cracked up and brittle over time. Now, when I was in college in the summers, I would paint houses. There was a company around here doing that, and it really didn't matter. You could buy the most expensive caulk, and in a couple of years, you start seeing damage to that caulk, even though you're painting it and coating it. So it's just to show you that it doesn't really matter. I mean, they've got a lot, like ChemLink has got a great sealant out there if you need to use it for any reason. I mean, that's a product that we have always stood behind. You could get probably close to 5 years on it without much cracking. But with the same time, you can see the butyl, it just still stays gummy. It still stays malleable, pliable. Now, this is something that on this here, this is what I'm seeing a lot of. People are doing re-roofs and they want to ask too, hey, how many times can you use a base? And all of our bases can be used up to twice. So you can use it that first time, and let's say 15 years from now, they need a new roof, or 10 years from now, they need a new roof. Now, you can use the same bases, obviously not the screws, but the bases do need to be cleaned, completely cleaned of any excess AlphaSeal or butyl from the back. And I tell people this, and they get through about 4 or 5 of these before they get frustrated and just say, I'm going to buy new bases. It is a difficult process, but to know this and to be able to tell that to the homeowner that yes, you could, if in 5, 8, 10 years you need a new roof, you can use basically all the same equipment that you have on that roof. But that far right, you can kind of see it there. You can see that the butyl underneath or back behind the cracked up sealant is still tarry. And that's why this is sealing up at point of contact and making it a waterproof seal or a watertight seal. So this is something that we used to do at a lot of shows. I know that we've done it with BayWa maybe 2 years ago at ETC. We did not have the fish involved. We did get in a little bit of trouble with PETA. I don't know how they find this kind of stuff out, but we were no longer allowed to use the fish. I just made it a prettier or more of a funny thing that you had at your booth. It was basically a fish tank for the couple days that we were doing a show. But we would install our product in water. So it's not that we already put the product down and hid some sort of sealant or anything. I mean, we went right into the water and installed the product. We backed the screws completely out, like I said earlier, and you would see it drip. And just use just a normal OSB or a plywood, and then shingle it. And we wouldn't even really do the underlayment paper either, because we were kind of rushed for time. But we would do shingles and just what you would normally run across in the field. And then we would just install it and set this up at a booth, and it would be there for the 2 days, and people get to see this, to see that it did not leak. And this was, putting it into water to install. So over time, this is, again, something that I've gone back to my guys to say, hey, why can't we start testing again to see, hey, can we install these while it's dewy out? I know that's a problem. A lot of areas, especially in the north, I'm in the Midwest in the States, and it happens a lot in the summertime where you get to a job and now it's like, we got to get the sun on this area as quickly as possible. It's going to be another hour before we could dry the roof off. But if you were able to tell installers, hey, it does not matter, even on a dewy roof or slightly wet roof, that you're going to be okay, that it would be a game changer. Not that anybody wants to be on a roof when it's wet, but it's just to know that the moisture just doesn't really have any area to go. It's going to be pushed out by that butyl, and the shingles are designed for that. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys in the loop. So I'm going to go through just a couple of the products that we can install on. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but it's not just for shingled roofs, not just for the flat rolled asphalt, but we're good for a lot of bitumen, a lot of TPO, but we're also good for metal roofs. Now, this is going to be the only time that the install requires a little something extra. And what we do here is, it says pre-drilling, but I use, when I get onto a metal roof, is pre-tapping the holes. Now, you can pre-tap these holes right through the base themselves. So it doesn't matter that it's poking right through the butyl. We just need a little hole in that metal, because what we're using essentially is a wood screw. And there's a possibility that it could spin that butyl out before it got to pull it into the void. So I just take one of the smallest nail sets I can find, and I pop holes in the metal before you install the screws. And then over to the right there, you can see I am asking for a little bit of sealant in the shape of a triangle. You can use the extra butyl, or you could just use any kind of sealant of choice. Again, it's just, we are a watertight seal. So when you are in this little void of a metal roof, the water has no place to go. So it's just going to pool up behind our bases, and it's not going to create any kind of leaks through our product, but it could start rotting away the metal. I mean, standing water on anything is not good, or sitting water for, you know, X amount of time. So we're asking for a little triangle of sealant there. Now, just because I say we're, you know, compatible with metal roofs, obviously it's not all metal roofs. I mean, standing seam should not be penetrated. Again, I push people to S5. Corrugated, there's no flat area. Again, I push people to S5. So I mean, on the metal roof aspect, it's you know, I tell people it's got to be like the Goldilocks effect. It's got to be just right for us to install. So it's more of a ribbed roof that we're good for. But again, if you're doing like a railless system, you need to hit more rafters, and sometimes it's difficult to hit all rafters, or sometimes those rafters happen underneath an area where we cannot install on top of. So again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So and that's going to be the same for all the products that I'm going to be reviewing right now. So, you know, torch down and asphalt, obviously we're going to be good. There is no problem there. And really, well, I guess if you run into insulation, you know, that's more with the TPO here. You know, typically it's going to be TPO, then it's going to be insulation, then it's going to be decking. And you should not be, you know, compressing anything. You know, basically what you do when you install our product is it's going to start pinching that insulation, and it's going to create a divot. It's going to be a little water collector, and you're just going to have little puddles all over your roof. So I tell people when they ask, hey, can we install on TPO? It's yes, you can, but have you walked on the roof? Does it feel spongy? If it feels too spongy, I always tell people there's other products out there designed for that. So just because you get very comfortable using the Roof Tech product and have confidence that it's not going to leak and it's very easy to use, it's not going to be a fit for everything. And make sure you have my number. Make sure your crews have my number. I'll be the first one to tell you, you know, hey, point you in the right direction, that we're not a good fit, or you shouldn't use us there, or hey, you know, good luck kind of thing. Bitumen, again, you're going to run into a lot of insulation there. But again, it's just to show you that we can install on a lot of different products. But again, really the only products that we're saying do not install on is going to be a wood shake, a clay tile, and PTO. I can't think of it. It's a product for the commercial industry, and not a lot of people are using it anymore because it is so expensive to use. But just to, you know, go through some of the things again that we're offering up, training on basically anything. You know, if you guys have questions, again, make sure your guys have my number. If it costs you money to call me because I have a United States phone number, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, and just say, hey, call me. That way I can make sure you guys aren't getting charged. But I can get answers for you right away. You know, I have installers call me while they're on the roofs all the time because they know I'm going to answer. One, two, even if it's a question outside of my product, I will get you the answer. You know, I have a team, you know, kind of underneath me or working with me that have a wealth of knowledge. You know, I can get you the answer right away. That way it's not going to slow your guys down. But ultimately, it, you know, comes down to, hey, can I install on this? Hey, can I install it that way? I've never seen a roof like this. Is this okay? I can get you answers right away instead of you sending them to your boss or your boss sending it to me and then waiting for a response. Just call me whenever you can, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. So I think that is about it, Jeremy. I didn't hopefully go too fast.
Oh, that was awesome, Guy. I just had one more question. Maybe you addressed it. Rubber shingles, are people putting roof tech on them rubber shingles, or what's your take on that?
So we are running into more of these comp shingles where, you know, it looks like a wood shake, but it's a rubber shingle. What we say is the number one thing is we have to stay away from air voids. So a lot of them are waffled in the back where they're kind of hollow. We have to stay away from those because there's no good way to seal it up with our product, because it's going to go through that bit of rubber, then it's going to go through nothing, and then it's finally going to hit some decking, and it's just not going to seal up properly. So the waffled side we cannot install on. If it's solid, We have already done testing on a couple products out there that when they come, they arrive, they are a solid product, no waffling in the back. We only ask for pre-drilling. Now that's going to be a little bit different than the pre-tapping on the metal, but pre-drilling of those holes on just their product, not the decking, and then a little bit of sealant, and then we can install on that. So we do have that in our installation guide currently, and it'll, in the back where it just shows how to install on different products. It is there, and it will just state a little bit of pre-drilling just through the product as long as it's solid, a little bit of, the best sealant you can find, and we're going to be fine. We're going to be good to install. But now on
Perfect.
some of those ones where it's like a metal panel, I've seen they're kind of hollowed. I have not come across any good solution yet. I've talked to the manufacturers. They don't really have a good solution. A couple of them offer up, it looks like traditional flashing. It's like a metal disc, but it compresses these metal shingles and dents them. So again, they don't have a good answer either. If you guys run across any products that I don't already talk about or are in our installation guide, let me know and I'll do the legwork for you. Is all you need to do is get me a name of the manufacturer. I'll find a contact and I'll reach out to their salespeople and figure out, hey, can we install? I'd like you to send me an email. That way we have, we're not voiding anybody's warranty, but I'll usually get you that answer. And to be honest, I've scared a lot of installers away after talking to manufacturers of certain products, because even the manufacturers don't have a good way to attach anything to the roofs. So.
Awesome, Guy. Well, thank you. And yeah, I can say from experience, Guy's super quick to get back to people about questions. If you know the manufacturer of the panel or the roof product, he's probably already dealt with it. So he's such a great wealth of knowledge. We're so lucky that we had you here with us today, Guy. So thanks everybody for coming. As mentioned, this presentation has been recorded and it's going to be available on our YouTube channel and in our next monthly newsletter. I just want to give a heads up on our web shop. If you've not already signed up for our web shop, please do so. It's a fantastic resource. You can find specs, pricing, inventory levels, install manuals through the portal. You can also view your orders and invoices there as well. And I'll also say the web shop is getting a refresh. And our Baywa regional team has been working hard to implement some changes that will make your web shop experience even more efficient. The update should be complete over the next couple of weeks, so keep your eyes out for that. And of course, you can check all the stock levels for the awesome Roof Tech products on our web shop as well. Finally, I just want to thank Guy from Roof Tech again for his presentation. As mentioned, he is a great wealth of knowledge for our solar industry here in Canada for sure. Any questions you may think of after the webinar, please feel free to pass on to your outside rep and we'll connect you with Guy to find a solution. And that's it. So thanks everybody for attending. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you, Guy from Roof Tech. Bye for now.
Thank you, Baywa. Thanks, Jeremy.
You betcha. Bye for now.